After 6 weeks on trial and 34 witnesses called by the prosecution, Diddy's trial is wrapping up. The defense says they will not be calling any witnesses, and here's a look back at what went down this week. Friday started off with a U.S. Attorney's Office special agent back on the stand. She had been testifying about data and flight records from Diddy, including a trip that he took from Los Angeles to New York, where he had a male escort that he paid for in August of 2009, and his credit cards were on file for that. This, of course, does not look good for his transportation to engage in prostitution charge. The other thing we finally got to see was his stash of baby oil that was recovered from his home. For all of us that were wondering what 1,000 bottles of baby oil would look like, it's this. This, for some reason, looks like a lockbox that they ended up finding, a closet that was dedicated just to different sizes of baby oil, drawers that were absolutely filled with baby oil bottles, and another area that may have been some sort of medicine cabinet closet that was full of baby oil as well. June 20th was the 27th day in court, and we got to see some more text messages that Cassie and Diddy had been sending each other. Now, the defense continues to try and frame all the freak-offs as if they were consensual, but the prosecution has a lot of text messages that show that they weren't. One text message that the prosecution showed from Cassie to Diddy was her telling Diddy she didn't deserve to be beaten by him and saying, "That's not love, that's possession." Defense entered one from March 2017 where Cassie says, "I love our FOs," which of course refers to freak-offs, "when we both want it." Today was also interesting because Brendan Paul took the stand. Now, Brendan Paul was the man who was with Diddy at the Miami airport when Homeland Security was raiding all of Diddy's homes, and they arrested Brendan Paul because he had drugs on him. They said that he had what they suspected was cocaine and marijuana candy with him. They first charged him with both counts, then they dropped it to just possession of cocaine. However, because it was his first offense, he was able to get diversion, and he served no jail time, probation, nothing like that. When he took the stand, he talked about all the demands his job had that came from Diddy. He said one time he didn't sleep for 3 days. He said he was asked to go buy thousands of dollars of drugs at one point. And he actually compared Diddy's assistants and staff as the U.S. military SEAL Team 6. Yesterday was day 28 of Diddy's trial, and it started off with the special agent from Homeland Security Investigations back on the stand going over Diddy's text messages again. One of the text messages he goes over was from Diddy's chief of staff, Christina Coram, and she's texting him because he's going for one of his hotel nights in Vegas, and she says to him that she's got a room for him at the Waldorf Astoria, Las Vegas, and that she put Plan B in his nightstand. Unfortunately, yesterday, jurors had to sit through more videos of Diddy's freak-offs, and this time it wasn't with Cassie, but it was with Jane. The federal agents said they found 50 explicit videos in Diddy's possession, and they'd all been recorded within 4 days. So from December 17th until December 21st of 2021, he made 50 explicit videos with Jane. These are some of the videos that were being played to the jurors. And while the jurors were watching this, Diddy was just looking around the courtroom at everyone else, and his mother was avoiding the screen and looking at the jurors' faces. The jurors were also shown more receipts where sex workers were being paid for hotel and flights on Diddy's credit cards. Another text message from Jane was shared where she writes him and says, "It's clear you just want me there for a hotel binge. You've got plenty of other women or sex workers for that. I don't want to be used and locked in a room to fulfill your fantasies." And this was from September of 2023. They were also reading text messages from Diddy to these escort companies where he's getting mad that they're raising their rates, and he's writing them saying like, "What are you doing? I'm a regular." And they're saying, "Well, our best guys increased their rates." In one particular text, the company writes him and says there's something wrong with the cash transaction and that Diddy actually owes $600. And he writes back and says, "LOL, he couldn't even perform." And this woman writes back and says, "Whether you're skydiving or dancing, you got to pay for his time." And he responds saying, "Talk nice to me." And again, he reiterates that he's this longtime customer. And she apologizes and says, "I'm not trying to be smart with you." And he writes back, "It's all good, all love." Probably one of my favorite things that was played in court today is a voicemail that was from November of 2021, and it is Diddy leaving a message for his chief of staff, and he is frantic in this message saying that, "I can't believe I'm out," and he's talking about his baby oil, and she assures him that a fresh delivery is going to be left outside of his room shortly. And then there's another voicemail, and this one is to his chief of staff again, and he's asking someone to bring him his Apple TV system, whole milk lattes, coconut water, 7 bottles of baby oil, 5 bottles of Astroglide, and some vegetable soup from the high-end grocery store. And he says, I don't want to have to call anybody about this later, so he wants it now. So that's it. 29 days of trial. Today, the prosecution said they were resting their case, and about 2 hours later, the defense said they were going to rest as well. Now, prosecution called 34 witnesses, and the defense is calling none. Today, we actually heard Diddy speak the most he has spoken this whole trial, and it was to thank the judge for doing a great job. Before Diddy spoke, the prosecution rested, and the defense immediately, as soon as the jury left, were asking for the judge to throw out the case. They're saying that prosecution did not plead their case properly and that it should just all be dismissed. So the judge asks Diddy, how are you feeling? And Diddy responded saying, I'm doing great, Your Honor. I've been wanting to tell you thank you. You're doing an excellent job. And then the judge wanted to make sure that he understood what it meant not to testify, and Diddy agreed. So Diddy has pleaded guilty to all 5 charges. So there was 1 charge of racketeering conspiracy, 2 counts of sex trafficking by force, fraud or coercion, and 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. So this is wrapping up. It looks like this is everything. Tomorrow, the jury's going to get a day off so that the judge and defense team and prosecution can go over all the rules for the jurors. And then they're thinking on Thursday, there's going to be closing arguments by both sides. I'll be doing another update after closing arguments are finished, so make sure you hit follow, and then it's a waiting game to see what the jury's going to come back with after deliberations.